So we're ready to go. Let's just reduce this a little bit. We are now going to start taking a look at what we need for the exam. And if you remembered back on the web page I've given you, we've got select, from, where, like, and, or, and some wildcards. And I'm going to take them sort of in order. These top two you're always going to need. You're not going to get... they go together. You can't use one without the other, and you can't miss one out. Select, what that really means is choose one of these, or two of these, or all of them, the field names. The from part is asking which table. Now if we're using SQLite, we've only got one table, but as we have seen in sort of MySQL, we could have lots of different tables, and so I might want to choose a field name from a different table, or from many tables. We're not really going to bother ourselves with that too much. So let's take a look at what's going to happen. I'm going to type a simple SQL statement now, which is going to give me all of this data. In other words, it's going to be exactly the same as this one. And I started off with the word select. Now, a lot of people type it in capitals. You'll see it in capitals. That's only because it's a command word. It really doesn't matter. I could type it all in lowercase. There is no problem with that. Select. Now, if I put in name as a field name, so what comes after the select is a field name, but then I have to say from which table, and I've got users here, that's my table, from users, that is my SQL query, okay? And as you can see, the select and the from go together on one line. You're always going to have select to begin. You're always going to have from after the table, after the field names, and the last thing that you're going to have on that line is the table. So if I run that query, there we go, it's run the query and it's returned to me just the names, which is what I asked for. Select name from users. If I wanted to find out what the passwords were, I would choose the field name passwords. And that should give me just the passwords. It's given me an empty one because it should be password. There we go, and I've got let me in, blimey, ask 1 2 3, just the passwords that are in the database. What threw me there was the fact that it went blue because that is a keyword in this. So you've got to be careful when using field names. If I wanted to see both of them, name and password, I would do exactly that. Select name, separate it with a comma, name and password from users. Now this is MySQL. And if I run it, there we go, it's given me the name and password. I haven't got the ID. I haven't seen the ID at all. And if I try to get it from a table that doesn't exist, I just have a blank table, so I know I've made a mistake. So I haven't got a table called scores in here, so it's not going to give me anything there. So after the from is the table. After the select are the field names that you want. Now if I want all three field names, I could do ID, name and password, and I will get back to the original screen that I had with ID, name and password. So that is the way to use the select clause, and that's what we call it, is a clause. We need the select. We can't drop off the from, So if I try to run it, select ID name, it's not going to do anything. Okay, it's an error. I need to have a from because it needs to know which table it's coming from. However, remember in SQLite we're probably only going to deal with one table. And if I run that one, it's going to be happy. What I want you to notice as well is at the bottom it's telling me all the queries and what went wrong. So here, when I said select passwords from users, it says no such column passwords. That's quite unique. It's a useful feature in the database browser. You're not going to get that in anything else. This time we had select name, password from scores. There was no such table scores. Okay, and this one, select ID, name and password, said there's no such column ID. Well, actually, if you take a look, we didn't specify which table it came from. I'm going to quickly hop over to the database that I created here. And I'm going to run exactly the same SQL commands. So this is MySQL. We created this in a video that I asked you to skip. I only asked you to skip it because of the creation part of it. But now that we've got a database, we can see what's in there. This actually tells me what columns I've got, so it's quite useful. But the same thing goes, select, let's do name from, now we need the table, users, and when I've done that, I can just click go, and it gives me here, Elite, Larry, Puritan, Python Geek and Zebedee. What I want you to notice with this one is that they are not in the order that we specified them in. Elite was second, Zebedee was third. They've changed. In a database, order doesn't matter. It doesn't even think about the ID. It doesn't even order them by ID. A set of records is completely unordered. And we'll take a look at that later. Before we go there, let's write the second query. So select name. So I've got to do a new query. Select name, whoops, and password. Separate it with a comma. Set name and password from users. Fire that query. And there you go, we've got name and password. Now although the order's changed here, the password is the correct password for the user. And finally I can do all three. Select ID, name, password, too many S's, from users. Click go, and I should get my original table with the ID and so forth. So if I take a look at it this time, notice that now that I've included the ID, it has ordered it. Okay, so Python Geek is first, then Elite, then Zebedee, Larry, and number 6, because I made a mistake when I set it up. I've got Puritan and Swordfish. So that's our first look at a query. Select and from. You must have both of those in there. You can't miss one out. Then after the select comes the field names that you're interested in, and after the from is the table that you're interested in. And there could be many tables, there could be many field names. So that's our first look at a SQL query, a select query.